What happens when a gossip blogger gets dragged into a high-stakes legal war by one of Hollywood's most famous actresses? Blake Lively subpoenaed Perez Hilton, accusing him of helping Justin Baldoni smear her. Perez? He says he didn't take orders from anyone. And now the subpoena is pulled. But what was really going on behind the scenes? And what does this move mean for free speech, content creators, and the power of subpoenas? Welcome back to A Sip of Drama, where nobody gets a free pass, even when they publish from a couch with a laptop. Today we're unpacking the subpoena scandal that no one saw coming. Blake Lively, in her legal battle with Justin Baldoni, tried to pull in blogger Perez Hilton and others, claiming they were part of a smear campaign. He pushed back. The ACLU stepped in. And suddenly, what looked like an obvious gag move turned into a full legal standoff. So raise your sip, hit that like button before someone serves you with a subpoena, and let's dive into the court move nobody expected. The legal saga between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni started when Lively sued him for sexual harassment and hostile workplace claims related to their work on the movie It Ends With Us. Baldoni responded with massive countersuits for defamation and extortion. The courtroom drama, media wars, and internet gossip were already heating up. Into that mess came Perez Hilton, Candace Owens, Andy Signore, and other content creators. Lively's legal team subpoenaed them in July 2025, demanding documents, communications, social media posts, private messages, material that, Lively claims, could prove a coordinated smear campaign tied to Baldoni's team. Hilton, Owens, Signore. None of them were defendants, they were commentators. They argued that they were simply expressing opinions, commenting on public statements, doing what content creators do, but now under threat of legal force. Then, things escalated after the subpoena was served. Hilton, who initially represented himself, filed a motion to quash, i.e. throw out, the subpoena, calling it overly broad, invasive, and threatening to his privacy and journalistic rights. Did this move cost Lively credibility or open a Pandora's box for what's protected speech? Keep watching. Perez Hilton, real name Mario Lavandera Jr., is a major gossip figure, but he's no A-list actress. When he saw Lively's subpoena, he went to court without a lawyer. And that alone is wild given the legal stakes. He couldn't afford big legal teams for this fight. Hilton claimed the subpoena demanded a lot. Unpublished drafts, private communications, internal notes, possibly work product. He said this wasn't about truth. It was about control. And asked the judge for protections. Journalist and blogger protections often shield this kind of content, but those shields aren't infinite. He also objected to how public filing of these documents exposed personal addresses in court papers. When legal filings include addresses, phone numbers, emails, it raises privacy and safety concerns, especially for someone used to public visibility already. Then came the tipping point. After he got representation from the ACLU of Nevada, Lively's team withdrew the subpoena. Magic moment. But was it a retreat or an acknowledgement that the subpoena was too heavy a hammer? The truth might cost her more than the bone she threw. This case gets tricky because it sits at the crossroads of speech rights and defamation law. One central question: when can someone be forced to hand over unpublished content or private communications? If someone is acting like a journalist, writing commentary on public events, they often have legal protections. But those protections can be challenged if the subpoena asks for too much. Hilton's legal filings argued that he's not being sued for defamation. He is being asked to produce documents. And in the U.S., there are rules, federal rules of civil procedure, that regulate subpoenas. They must not be unduly burdensome, must protect privileged content, and must follow rules about notifying witnesses. Another dimension, Lively's legal team pushed back, saying Hilton isn't a traditional journalist, so perhaps shouldn't get the same protections. But in modern law, content creators, or digital journalists, increasingly get protected status, depending on how they publish, whether they collaborate, how they operate editorially. Hilton says he qualifies. If a court sides with Hilton here, it could limit the ability of powerful people to subpoena bloggers and creators just because they posted opinions or commentary. But if the court sides with Lively, it might open up content creators to more legal risk than they realize. Here's the move nobody expected. In September 2025, after Hilton retained the ACLU and filed motions, Blake Lively withdrew the subpoena. Poof, gone. But withdrawal isn't the same as losing. It may mean Lively's team saw the legal risk and reputational downside, or that their motion to compel, forcing compliance, was going to fail or expose unwanted truths. Or maybe it was a calculated pivot to avoid a court battle that could cost more in public opinion than money. Meanwhile, judges got involved. One judge restricted Perez Hilton's language in his filings, telling him he must avoid disrespectful or intemperate statements in court documents. That means Henry mounting pressure on commenters and bloggers to behave in ways that won't trigger legal consequences. Also, this move signals a warning to other creators. If you comment on powerful figures, you might be dragged into court even if you're not a defendant. The breath you took of, "maybe I'll get subpoenaed," just became heavier for online commentators. Perez didn't just win the withdrawal, he leveraged it. He spoke out in interviews, called the subpoena burdensome, too broad, and threatening to his journalistic sources and work product. Public opinion, especially among creators, rallied to him. Many saw this as a free speech issue. Meanwhile, Lively's legal standing took a hit. This looks less like a targeted smear campaign revelation and more like a risk gamble that required too much collateral damage. The idea of subpoenaing bloggers who commented on public headlines just because someone doesn't like what they said, it looks aggressive. Reserved legal watchers see parallels. Famous people suing for reputational harm, but courts increasingly protect commentary, criticism, and speech, even harsh speech, especially when it's about public figures. This could be one of those cases that reshapes what smear campaign means legally. Public reaction has been loud, social media, copying Hilton's David versus Goliath framing. Creators chimed in with concern about censorship, chilling effect. And mainstream press is asking, is this legal fight going to chill free speech or create dangerous precedent? And hold up, before you scroll on, do me a favor, smash that like button and subscribe. Consider it your digital shield protecting your keyboard from getting subpoenaed. If you're enjoying this courtroom twist, hitting subscribe makes sure you don't miss what happens next in this wild, lively Baldoni Hilton roller coaster. This subpoena scandal doesn't stand alone. It's part of a much bigger legal war. Lively's original lawsuit against Baldoni included allegations of sexual harassment, hostile work environment, and mistreatment on set. Baldoni then responded with defamation and extortion countersuits. Many of Baldoni's countersuits have already been dismissed, but the substance remains. Lively claims there was a smear campaign, and she tried to use subpoenas to trace how negative commentary may have been coordinated or amplified. The digital content creators, they got caught in the crossfire. Trial is scheduled for March 2026, giving both sides time to file motions, depositions, collect evidence. Whether or not creators like Hilton will appear at trial or just be mentioned in filings remains to be seen. This subpoena pullback may change how the trial plays out. It could limit what evidence Lively's team presents about the role of public commentary and influence. Perez Hilton's fight isn't just personal, it could set precedent. Is a gossip blogger protected like a journalist? Courts are increasingly acknowledging content creators as having some protections, especially when discussing public controversies. But it's not automatic. If you don't follow certain editorial standards, or if you're deemed to be colluding versus commenting, those protections can be reduced. By filing this subpoena, Lively's team was implicitly challenging what journalism means in the digital age. Is it published blog posts, YouTube commentary, social media rants? Who gets shielded and who doesn't? Also, the question of chilling effect looms large. If creators fear legal retaliation for saying things critical about public figures, could we see fewer artists, commentators, journalists speaking up? This case is being watched by many in media. With the subpoena withdrawn, the fight shifts. The immediate pressure is off for Hilton, but the case doesn't end. Lively's accusations remain. Baldoni's defenses remain. Everything still points toward that March 2026 trial. The judge's rulings on what evidence gets admitted, on how much commentary about the case counts, on whether creators lightly touched by the conflict will be called to testify, will matter. For Lively, pulling back this subpoena could be seen as a smart retreat or a sign she overreached. For Hilton, it's a public win, but being pulled into legal documents still carries brand damage. If the trial reveals evidence that any coordination between creators and Baldoni's team existed, even if lightly, it could hurt Lively's claims or credibility. So, what's your verdict? Was Blake Lively's subpoena threat against Perez Hilton a calculated legal move, or a desperate overreach doomed from the start? Drop your take in the comments. Team legal smart or team don't bring bloggers into lawsuits? And if you want every twisted turn of courtroom strategy, hammer that like button, subscribe to A Sip of Drama, and ring the bell. Because when gossip meets the law, it's not just headlines, it's history in the making.